Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking you through some great Zoom interview tips for job seekers. I'm going to go through 10 really useful interview tips that you can put to good use when using Zoom for your interviews. Zoom is increasingly being used for business, for interviews, as businesses start to move online. And with this in mind, it's really useful to get to grips with Zoom, how to use it properly and how to use it in conjunction with a lav mic. Now, quite often in the past when I've used Zoom, in order to speak properly into the camera, I find myself leaning in to speak and then leaning back out again when I'm listening. This isn't really practical. When you're in a Zoom interview, you want to have a lav mic on. This will allow you to sit comfortably in your chair and speak to the interviewer and conduct a good interview and make a good impression. So first and foremost, you should get familiar with the technology. Now, Zoom is very easy to use and it's available on all modern operating systems, whether you use PC, Mac, Android, tablets or iPads. You should download Zoom and make sure you're familiar with how to navigate through the site. Secondly, you have to remember that your employer, the person who's conducting the interview, should give you a meeting link and an access code. If you're not sure about these, there's no shame in asking beforehand. Send an email and ask them what the access code and the meeting link are. Now that's important. So we recommend that before the interview starts, you should test your technology. We recommend the lav mic because it provides that higher level of sound quality, so the interviewers will be able to hear you more clearly. So before it starts, make sure everything's connected properly and everything works. So now you can hear my voice when I'm using the inbuilt microphone on the computer. And now you can hear the difference in the quality of the sound when I use the lav mic. So the second stage is to ensure that you have the right setup. So the room that you're in is very important. It should be clean, it should be quiet. You should ensure that you don't have last night's beer and takeaway on the side behind you. I would recommend that you shut your windows, just in case your neighbour decides to start mowing the lawn halfway through your interview. And also remember, if you live with people or you have children, ask somebody to look after those children, or ask the people that you live with not to disturb you during the interview. The third thing to remember is, of course, you should be on time for your interview, but not too early. When you arrive at the interview on Zoom, you will be placed in the meeting room, which is where you wait. I would recommend that you arrive approximately 2 or 3 minutes before the start of the interview, but no earlier. So number 4, you should prepare answers to the most commonly asked questions. Now, in an interview, 2 very commonly asked questions are: what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Now, people often find it very easy to talk about their strengths and they can reel off several strengths. However, when asked what their weaknesses are, people sometimes choke and they don't know what to say. So I would recommend preparing answers to those basic questions that are often asked at interviews. Obviously, when you're talking about your weaknesses, be honest, but try not to be too honest. So my 5th tip for you is to write down and prepare some questions to ask the person who's interviewing you. Now, the question is always asked in an interview where the interviewer says, "Do you have any questions for us?" You don't want to be that person that sits there scratching their head who can't think of a question. Most businesses have publicly available information. By researching the business, researching what the business does and the personalities within the business, you are showing that you are taking a keen interest in their industry and in their business, and this will provide a better interview. So number 6, your choice of outfit. Now, you should choose something that you're comfortable in, but of course is smart and professional. This is your chance to make a good first impression. I also recommend that your clothes are cleaned and ironed beforehand. This will set the best precedent for the interview. Okay, so my 7th tip is to speak slowly and clearly. When you're using an online platform such as Zoom, there may be some internet problems and that can cause lag. If you speak too quickly, the interviewer might not understand everything you've said and you might not be able to make the best impression of yourself. Also, it's known that when people are relaxed, calm and confident, they tend to speak more slowly and more clearly. So the interviewer will be able to see how confident and how calm you are, and that will make a good first impression. So my 8th tip for you is to work on your body language. Body language is really important, and you should try and avoid doing things like tapping your hands or clenching your jaw. What this will do, it will draw attention away from what you're saying, and it will draw attention on the fact that maybe you're nervous or you're not very confident, and that's probably a bad thing. I'd also recommend that you practice speaking and looking into the camera on your computer. Now what this does is it allows you to form a closer connection with the person that you're speaking to, because it gives them the impression that you're talking directly to them. Often when we're using Zoom or similar online platforms, we're too busy looking at the picture of ourselves in the corner or the picture of them, and we don't actually look at them through the camera. So I would recommend practice looking into the camera. Tip number 9 is to ensure that you check the date, the time, and the time zone. This is important because it will avoid any embarrassments. They should tell you in the email that they sent you what the date and the time zone are going to be. If you're not 100% sure, just ask. And last but not least, number 10, don't be afraid to ask the interviewer to repeat their question if you didn't hear it properly. This is really important because every question the interviewer asks has a purpose. They're asking that question because the information that you give them is important. So if you start answering the wrong question because you haven't heard the question properly and you didn't ask them to repeat it, it will look really unprofessional in the interview. So there you have it. There's my top 10 tips of how to conduct a Zoom interview professionally. If you follow my advice, you will conduct your interview more professionally and more relaxed, and I guarantee that you will get more job interviews. Remember, at the end of the day, it's just a normal job interview. So make sure you're comfortable using Zoom and your lav mic, and you'll have less to worry about during the interview. So good luck in your interview on Zoom. I wish you all the best. You should check out our product in the link below, subscribe to the channel, and give us a thumbs up.